Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Lance and Lauren here, bringing you episode 7 of Elevated with Lance and Lauren. So we're pretty excited about this one, actually.
Yeah.
This one's really cool because, man, some bad stuff happens all the time, and just to be plain and simple, and
All
the
the
fact
time.
is that if you're living on accident, if you're not living with purpose, you're gonna find yourself not able to actually perform, or let me say it this way. If you're just surviving in life and you're not thriving, chances are it's because of these 3 things that we're going to talk about today. So, because we had some crazy stuff happen over this past Friday to where our Facebook profiles were just completely obliterated. We won't get into all that stuff, but it was taken down, and obviously this was a crazy thing. Most of our business is online, our marketing and all this stuff. This was a crazy event that happened. And then to add insult to injury, we were told that this could not be appealed, that they would not fix anything, and that was it. And then after working all weekend and all day Monday, towards the end of the afternoon, they just decided to willy-nilly turn it back on for us with no notice.
We saw our old profiles as suggestions for our new ones.
Yes. So, what's the point of this? The point is, life has some crazy stuff happen, and if you're not prepared for it, and if you're not living on purpose, you're going to be living in reactive mode. And that reactive mode, we've been there, and it usually looks like this, where you're just like, oh my gosh, I've got this going on, and the kid's doing this, and I've got to take how am I supposed to get fit? How am I supposed to do this? You're constantly in reactionary mode.
I would liken it to if you've ever been in the ocean on a day where the waves are really high,
Right.
that they're just hitting you, and you just finally give up and let them just take you under, which used to happen a lot when we lived in Florida. But anyway, that's what I would liken it to.
Definitely. And the thing of it is that you don't have to live this way. And so, am I telling you that we handle everything perfectly? Not at all. My gosh, we don't. But I can't imagine going back to living life the way that we did before using these things that we're going to show you. So, without further ado, here's the whole thing that we want to do is that we want to, number one, understand that there is a difference between abundance and scarcity mindset.
Right.
So, abundance mindset, we'll kind of give you an example or a couple examples here in a second. Abundance mindset versus scarcity looks a little like this. So I'll just keep this related to finance and fitness because those are the ones that usually affect us the most.
Yep.
So in fitness, it would look like this. Scarcity mindset's like, Lance, Lauren, I want to get fit, but I've got no time to work out, no time to food prep. I've got no time to I just can't do this. Scarcity mindset. Abundance mindset, instead of seeing or imagining there's not enough time, they begin the same way that happens whenever we've been given a death sentence with the big C or one of those. We are immediately willing to change things because we're motivated and inspired.
Absolutely.
The same concept goes like this. The abundance mindset says, I will make this work come hell or high water. And what this looks like is, I will schedule, basically the assumption is, I will have time. If I take care of the things that matter most, the other things will fall into place. This is abundance mindset. So the abundance mindset looks more like this. I am going to schedule each day my workouts because I know that if I schedule those, my mindset will be better. I will be looking at my finances better. My health gets better. My confidence is better. And therefore, the things that I worried about before that I was putting ahead of my workout because of scarcity mindset, now I'm putting this first and things start falling into place. Right. So a finance one, my gosh, we've struggled with so many different financial mindsets over the last 17 years we've been married.
I would say scarcity mindset, that would be my topic that I struggled with for years.
For finance.
For finance. I went around the same mountain over and over and over and over again because all I did was live in scarcity.
Right.
Now I grew up and I watched my parents go from riches to rags to riches to rags to riches. I watched that my whole life. So what was taught to me, even though my parents are entrepreneurs and they knew how to pull themselves up by their bootstraps, what was taught to me is that it could be lost at any time. So I held on to every penny very tightly, and scarcity was my number one.
Definitely. And the thing of it is that, again, her parents had, so this is where being intentional and abundant mindseted versus scarcity comes in. If you just, for her, the message that she got was anything can be lost or taken from me at any time. And when we were first married, that notion came up often, that because for her, if money wasn't just coming in nonstop, it was like, oh gosh, are we about to go through what my parents did?
Yeah, I was always afraid of
But
that.
here's the deal. Her parents didn't just have it wasn't just like, oh, they were spending stupid money and all of a sudden they lost things. They went through one of the most specific health things possible, between her little brother having a heart transplant, major medical bills, and her father having a mechanical heart valve where they needed. So you're talking about millions in medical debt. That doesn't normally happen to most people. That was something that really, really was just a 1 in a million, 1 in a billion sort of scenario. But because of what she witnessed, she created what's called neuroassociations to those things. So we won't go down that road, but I do want to say that the point is, when she finally got into abundance mindset, she began to step back and go, that was such a one-off sort of scenario. I don't need to be living my life as if that could happen to me at any moment. Now it doesn't mean not to create an exit strategy. Obviously, we want to make sure that we have an exit strategy. And again, that's living intentionally, living on purpose. But the point is, if you're living in a scarcity mindset, because you begin to presume or assume that you don't have enough, all of your actions are in alignment with not having enough. So how can you get more of, let's say, a better outcome, a more sustainable outcome, when all of your actions are in alignment with something that produces scarcity? Right. So I know that this is the hard part, because at some point somebody asked me, well, Lance, how do I just turn that switch on? Well, you don't turn the switch on here. This is what we call cognitive behavioral therapy, which means that we're going to take action first. We're going to act as if. So what this means is that we're going to schedule a workout. We're going to act as if we have enough money, enough all of these things, and we're going to make wise decisions, which we'll get to in a minute, based on those scenarios. Yeah. And so this is how we get out of that. And I know for you and I, getting out of scarcity mindset has helped us to, even with ourselves, if we're in scarcity mindset, I'm not enough. I start thinking I'm not enough. She's thinking this about me, etc. I begin to project things on her, and she's going, what is going on? What is with you? Well, and, we all will do that. Yeah. But that's scarcity mindset. So here's the solution. We act as if. So when I'm feeling like I'm not enough, I'm going to either have a conversation to rid myself of that worry so that I can begin moving on, or I'm going to remind myself that especially if I believe this, I'm going to remind myself that the story I'm telling is not necessarily real, and convince myself to start acting in alignment with the abundance outcome that I want, as far as that goes.
Right, and this is kind of not off topic, it's on topic, but one of the things actually that helped me, this is probably really silly, people might laugh about this.
No, some helps.
But we always have business coaches. That's one of the things that we do, because that's helped us so much. You always need someone, at least I feel like, you always need someone with
for sure.
a lens that can look into your life, who's kind of outside of you being in the trenches. Because if you just have you and your spouse, or you and your business partner, if your spouse isn't your business partner, sometimes it's really tough to be in the trenches together and find a solution. But I remember Chris Robinson telling me one time, when I was scared that we weren't going to be able to make bills, and he looked at me and he goes, Lauren, they can't kill you. Yep. They can't kill you. And I was like, yeah, you're right, Chris, because I think that's the fear. It's oh my gosh, if something happens, we're going to die. And that's kind of that's what rises up on the inside of you.
So here's the deal. That's so not silly. And I know that, there's a lot of times I listen or I go through different things, and we don't necessarily chat about things until we're building in our program. So this is something you get to hear. There was a psychologist that I listened to several years back, and they were talking specifically about people in business, and how one of the underlying fears is what she just described. Definitely. Now, we don't realize that, because what we fear is, I can't make my bills, okay? Right. So, or, oh my gosh, I don't have a client. Oh my gosh, this, okay? Now, that's the surface level fear. The real fear does, and the psychologist was talking about this, is if you examine it, what it does is comes down to this innate desire to be part of a community and to be looked after. And so what happens is we start fearing, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose a client. Oh my gosh, I'm going to have less money. Oh my gosh, I won't be able to feed myself or pay my bills. And then, oh my gosh, I'm going to be kicked out of the community on my own. And next thing I know, I'm on the street and I die.
Living in a box.
That's how it goes. Now, again, that sounds silly because we're thinking, who thinks of that? You do.
Yeah.
We do.
Right.
We all do.
Yeah.
We just don't we're not consciously aware of that, but that's what happens.
Yeah.
So what we've got to do is create a pattern interrupt in order to go, wait a second, this is the story I'm telling myself, but this is not reality.
Right.
And this is how we migrate into abundance mindset.
Yeah.
So
Good.
the second one, guys, this is a huge one also. It goes right into the same concept, being in proactive mode versus reactive mode. Proactive mode is a big difference. This is where it's not, I'll have time, I'll handle it later, because later happens and you're like, oh my gosh, like we were on Friday. Here's the deal, guys. Friday happened 6 or 8 months ago. Lauren and I talked about actually creating backup Facebook accounts in case something like that happened.
Yeah,
That's
totally.
Proactive thinking. That's creating an exit strategy.
That would have been better if we'd have executed that.
But we didn't. We didn't do that. So we got to teach a lesson and learn a lesson instead. And so the point is we found ourselves in reactive mode. Now, many of you guys have been in reactive mode. Maybe it's whenever you're like, oh, I'll get fit later. Oh, I'll save money later. Oh, I'll do this. And then what happens is you're in the doctor and you're sitting there and your heart is thumping and you're waiting for news and the doctor comes back and you're going, oh my gosh. And the next thing you know, and the doctor is letting you know you're going to be on this medication for life. And if you don't change your habits around, he's going to end up seeing you on a slab on the table. Okay. Now, I've got family members who have had that very conversation with the doctor and it startled them and scared them to death. This is reactive mode. Proactive mode is creating the exit strategy to make sure that you're not in that doctor's office hearing that, because you're planning on making sure that that doesn't happen. This is putting back money. This is creating a 6-month reserve, for your business, a 6-month reserve for your an emergency fund for your house. This is working out consistently, taking care of your body, taking vitamins. This is eating the right way. This is learning how to do better at your job rather than getting canned and then scrambling going, well, I guess I got to learn something new. I know that it seems like your life is just throwing you back and forth at times, but I want to challenge you and give you some pushback to say that life is pushing you all over the place because you're not standing firm in any sort of proactive, intentional living. And all you're doing is just deciding the bare minimums. What am I going to do this week? I'm going to go to work, I'm going to eat, and then I'm going to have some fun. If that's all you're consciously deciding each week, no wonder your life feels like it's crazy. It's because of the fact that you're being tossed and turned from every event that happens because you didn't plan, you didn't decide or to take action in spite or in light of those things. And that brings us to the third part of this too. So, which I know is one of your favorites as well.
It is, but I was just going to add to that if that is how you're living your life, you're going to find yourself very board. You really are. Like you're
bored and fearful. It'll be one and the other. Boom,
or
boom.
both at the same time.
Yep.
And honestly, nothing's gonna feel good at that time. And I'm not promoting that we should just run on our feelings by any stretch of the imagination. But your relationship isn't gonna feel good. Your career isn't gonna feel good. Right. Your home life isn't gonna feel good. And you're really gonna start to venture out of those things to try and satisfy that. So it's really important that you understand what exactly, we've talked about this before, but living that full purpose so that you don't find yourself being unfulfilled in life. So I did want to say that. So the third thing is that Lance and I kind of live by this motto, and it's actually from a book that we read many, many years ago. I don't even remember.
First year of marriage.
Was it the first year of your marriage?
It was.
Okay. Do you remember who recommended the book?
Yeah, a friend.
It was a friend. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, we bought this book, and it's called The Best Question Ever. It's by Andy Stanley. And he's actually a pretty well-known pastor, but the book in and of itself is just amazing. It walks you through all these different pieces of this question. And the question, I'm kind of giving a spoiler alert, but go read this book. It's a very quick, short read. It's easy to comprehend for those of you who are like me and don't like big words. But the best question ever is simply this. In light of my past, my present, and the future that I want, what is the wisest thing for me to do in this scenario? And Lance and I do our best to live by that motto all the time. So for instance, Friday when the deplatforming happened, I saw it first. Logged into mine, couldn't get in. Logged into his, couldn't get in. I started to have a panic attack. I have not had a panic attack in years. I think that's the second one in my life, honestly, that I can recall. And it happened. And Lance, just knight in shining armor, just rushed over to me. I know for him, he thought that somebody had died. He thought, because of the way that I was like, I have to break this news to him. And as soon as I told him, he goes, "It's okay. We're going to be okay. We got a plan. We're going to figure out how to get, how to do this. It'll be okay." And immediately, calm. And we did. We got a plan together. Thank God we had some people who were admins on this particular page that were able to let us back in. So some things started to work out. It was a stressful day, stressful weekend. But the point is that, yes, we had some reactive things we had to do because we didn't do the thing that we were talking about doing, which was create those backup accounts. But it worked out.
Yep.
And so we kind of asked ourselves that question, without really intentionally asking it. But it was in light of our past, present, and future. How are we going to make sure this doesn't happen again? So we did set up boundaries for, for that going forward.
To go a little deeper to the depth he gets in one part. So the question that she just, spoke is the question. At one point of the book, he goes into great depth to where he says, in light of my past failures, my future aspirations, and my current events, what is the wise decision for me to make? And what that does is it stops. And so if I'm looking at my past failures, when I'm deciding on what type of business to run, I might be thinking, like, if I go in light of my past failures, and if I've had like financial troubles or marketing troubles in business, I get to throw that in my strategy when I'm deciding on what to do. Well, I didn't do very well on this. Okay, well, in light of this, maybe a business coach would be better. Cool, this is a wise decision, based on this. The point is that Friday, once we kind of gotten ourselves calmed down, we actually did utilize this same premise to where, in light of what happened to us, our past failure, we did not create a secondary profile. We didn't really think about things. We began creating what we always call an exit strategy, in which case we're building some of our platform, or we're building out some of our business that's hosted in a Facebook group. We're building that on a private platform, and we're making some changes. So this couldn't happen if we were just like still in reactionary mode. What we're doing is we're going, okay, this was painful and pretty scary. It didn't feel good. We don't like the result we got. So what can we do in light of what just happened and in light of what we want to happen in the future? And that's what we did. So we began making plans of those things, and this is what helps us. So this is how we set boundaries in our marriage. In fact, this is how we decide on what businesses to run, what to pursue. This is, in fact, even how we decide what things to focus on in our business, our finances, and so on and so forth, by just going, in light of these things where we're trying to go, I don't know if this one makes as much sense at this moment, and we begin to pivot. So these three things here, focusing on whether you're in abundance versus scarcity mindset, so you're living on purpose, living intentionally, positioning yourself to be in a proactive mode rather than reactionary mode, and then always reminding yourself to ask yourself the question before making any decision, any purchases, any relationship decisions, even any diet, weight loss, anything whatsoever, buying a course, whatever. In light of my past failures, my future hopes and aspirations, and my current events, what would be the wise decision? The last thing to keep in mind is, do I have all the data here for me to make the decision? So sometimes people will bring stuff and go, Lance, I'm thinking about doing this supplement. What do you think? How many calories is it? How many this? How many this? How many that? What does it cost? What is your goal? What are you trying to do?
And they don't know those things.
I don't know. I just want to get fit. Okay. Then you're basing a decision here on a purchase that you really don't know what it does. You don't know what the side effects are. You're not even sure what you're wanting specifically. Those are where we want to go. Do I have enough data to make this decision? And that's how we get to that wisdom. So hopefully you guys can see how powerful this can be, just like it's been for us. I promise you it's going to keep you from crying on the scale. It's going to keep you from spending or wasting money like I've done a million times. It's going to also prevent you from hopefully having arguments that are unnecessary and so on and so forth. So these are things that we live by, or at least try to live by as regularly as possible. And we mess up often. But the cool thing is that this gets us back into alignment and we get to be in charge of our lives. And let me tell you something. In such an uncertain world, there is nothing better than having the sensation of certainty. That is what helps us to get through that. And let me tell you, your certainty is not based on your circumstances. It's based on your feeling or your perception of those circumstances and what it means to you. So I hope this helps you guys. I hope you guys are enjoying it. Let us know if you have any questions, comments, if you want us to cover any other topics. But be sure to catch us on the next one, and we'll see you guys soon.
Bye.